Okay, so with the standards that I picked out, I'll read them off first and then I'll talk about how they are significant. So for the first standard, I am doing grade of kindergarten. So I did K.1.1, and this talks about following rules such as sharing and taking turns and knowing the consequences of breaking them. So with that, within the observations of my classroom, um, a lot of the kids do know the consequences because the teacher sets them early and she sets them at the beginning of the school year, which we already talked about. And so she said, like, the kids already know what they're supposed to be doing and what they're not supposed to be doing. And I also talked about how kids take on that responsibility of knowing the rules and understanding the rules, and then they'll use those with other kids as well. So if they see another kid doing something wrong, then they will also address that with the kid and be like, oh, you're not supposed to be doing that. You're not supposed to be climbing up the slide. You're not supposed to be taking things out of kids' hands. And the kids will adapt to that and they will understand better. So, with Bloom's taxonomy that we watched the video of, it's created the framework of the classroom. So rules are part of the framework that sets up the classroom and the classroom management. And so they talked about applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So creating the rules, obviously, evaluating them, analyzing them so the children do understand what exactly that they mean and when they apply, and kind of to evaluate them, understand them, analyze them, and then apply them to the classroom and when they use them and when they don't use them. So with that, Bloom's taxonomy kind of makes that more of a situation. With the other video that we watched, it talks about thinking. So a lot of the time the guy was talking about skills and concepts, strategic thinking, extended thinking, all that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, obviously, like, kindergartners don't break this down as much as is put in these videos, but it is still applied. And so they do this kind of thinking. They do strategic thinking and extended thinking without really thinking about what they are doing, because they do take time to process these rules and they do take time to understand them. And so then they are setting out a process of how they are used in the classroom. So that is with the first standard that I used for kindergarten. Remember, that was K.1.1. And then the second standard that I chose was K.6.3. And that says to understand how people lived in earlier times and how lives would be different today. So with that, again, like, I don't think kindergartners really think about how this is affecting them, but with their teachers talking to them about it, and especially I said through books, I think kindergartners learn a lot through books, and just even little children books, they even have their own little rules in there, and they all have their own little message. And so I think that the kids, like, are starting to really understand and portraying what the book is trying to say, and they learn from those lessons, and then they put they learn from the lessons in the book and then they apply them through life. So that, again, that's with applying, analyzing, evaluating, creating. So the creation of the book, they evaluate it, they analyze what exactly the book is saying, and then the teacher or whoever is working in the classroom can kind of analyze that and help them to understand exactly what the lesson or the message may be, and then to apply that through what they've learned. So whether the book talks about being good at school, or the rules that are at school, or things like that, they will remember and understand that kind of stuff because of the book. They'll think about the book and they'll think about what their teacher says, and then they'll apply that. Even though that it is at such a young age, these kids are like 5 or 6, Um, Even though they are so young, they do start to develop those skills of understanding and applying through these standards. And even though they may not understand exactly what these standards are, they still apply and use them in the classroom through what the teacher says, through visual learning, through seeing what other kids do, and they may get in trouble for something they do, and then these kids will understand and they'll be like, oh, that's wrong. And then they kind of understand more and develop these rules themselves and know what to do and what not to do. So through these standards, I think the development of thinking that was in the other video that we watched, through skill and concept, recall, which is the fact, strategic thinking, develop steps. I think they are able to understand these steps by what the teacher tells them. And extended thinking, I mean, I'm not sure how far it goes in a kindergartner's life or in a kindergartner's development of understanding, but it does start to spark the fire, and they do start to understand more and more upon rules, and especially talking about learning from earlier times. I think that they learn through what teachers have taught them and what people have told them, even parents, if they decide to address things that have happened in the past and kind of told their children about these kind of things, and gotten them to understand and make it different within their lives that they're going to be living now, to kind of change it and apply it to make it better. So through these standards and through the Bloom's taxonomy and the other videos that we are watching, I think these children really do understand the development of change and the standards for them. So thank you.